All right, this is Angie Power. That's the simplest way to say it. Touching base with my friend and friend to many, advocate Andy Divine, full colon, Andrew, full colon, Divine, Baron Andrew and Baroness Angie, having a crisis talk. I've made some. Is there anything you want to say, Andy?
Well, no, I was just said, like, if you need a chat, I'm here to have a chat. I mean, I can't promise to give any answers, but I can just give you my mind. That's all I can give you.
I know, and I took a day off yesterday because I didn't want to act rashly, and I didn't want to walk into a trap where I could. Go ahead. Yeah. I didn't want to walk into a trap. I didn't want to walk into a trap where I could be grabbed, you know, for antisocial behaviour, or whatever. So just for those, you know, if I do publish this, for those that don't know, I've been no contact for the most part with my father for 7 years, and I got a phone call via my son about 10 days ago to say he's been discharged from hospital. He had an infection from a blocked catheter, but the hospital have said it might be wise to call the family. So, and then apparently my father asked for me, he asked for Angela and Sharon specifically by name. So I accepted the invitation and went for a deathbed visit, so-called, at his home, Scholars Rest in Crosstrom, and I discovered that he didn't look to me like he was dying. And I also, as a Christian, had a conversation with my niece and a prayer time a few months ago, and I really, some people think it's crazy when you say you think the Holy Spirit told you things, but I do believe the Holy Spirit said he's not going anywhere till he's 97. He's 96 this year in July, and he's 97 next year. So I went to visit with him with an open mind and much trepidation, and I stayed an hour, and then my niece came in the room and said, oh my God, he's talking. I'm like, yeah, he is. He was talking, answering questions, making observations, asking questions, totally engaging. He did have a grey pallor, and to me, he did have something that I'm familiar with, which is, you wouldn't mind clocking out. You know, he had this sort of resignation about him, about maybe I just like to go home. But the hospital had said there's no medical evidence of anything other than that he had an infection from a blocked catheter, which they fixed. And so, as I realised this is not a deathbed farewell, and another thing I felt the Holy Spirit said to me years ago, because the family's been called to his deathbed a few times, and each time I felt like the word of the Lord was, no, he's not going, it's not his time yet. And I was willing to be the idiot that said, no, he's not dying. So like as far back as like St. Vincent's Hospital, maybe 20 years ago, and my internet's fucking up, I said, no, he's not dying. And they're like, oh yeah, that's Angie, don't listen to Angie. But he's still here. So in the hour's visit, when I thought to myself, no, he's not dying, I said, Dad, you can die if you want. You can just turn your face to the wall at 95. You can do that. But I don't want you to go to your eternal destiny until you're right with God, or unless you're right with God, or unless you choose to be right with God. So I said, I think you've got another year and a half to hang around. And I said, if you're willing to stay alive, I'll come and visit you once a week. And when I went to visit, a week later, my sisters locked the doors and closed the blinds, closed the curtains. And when I tried again the next day, they'd actually moved him out of his hospital bed, out of his own bungalow, over to the farm where I could technically be considered trespassing. So I went to the police and said, will you mediate? I just want to visit my dad once a week. So the copper rang my little sister, Anne-Marie Galligan, and said, your sister wants to see her dad once a week for an hour. And my sister said, no, she can't. So yesterday I took a day off because I was in trauma and shock. And some wonderful, wonderful friends put me in touch with all the right people to report to. So today I got onto a safeguarding body in Ireland who allocated a social worker who rang me and is going to verify what I told him, that my dad was in hospital. They said call the family. Then he's going to verify that my dad asked for me. Then he's going to check, was your dad discharged to his own home address or to where he's been taken? And he's going to visit me on Friday. And so in the middle of the night, I think I want to send an affidavit to my sister, a la Baron David Ward, and say, bring forth the evidence that you have the right to withhold access to my father. And I don't know, and then I could do the other 3 steps, like you've got 7 days to bring forth your evidence, otherwise it will be presumed to be non-existent. I'm giving you another 7 days, I'm giving you another 7 days, and go through the steps which end up in a lien. But I know my sister and her husband would probably panic thinking I want to steal the farm. And I don't. This is the problem I have with liens, Andy, is that I don't want to take people's property for perpetuity and their children and their grandchildren's. I just want justice. So I just wondered, I know you've kind of blended Baron David Ward, Anthony Baddeloo, Robert Sproul, your own research. You've kind of blended them all into something that's working. So I just wanted to get your advice. I've got 2 or 3 other people to contact, like elder abuse authorities, and I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover. I'm not a fighter. And I don't know if that's just a female thing. I don't want anybody's property. I never wanted the farm. I just wanted equal access to it as our family homestead until our parents went home. Anyway, just, I don't know what you think, Andy, or what you advise.
So, I mean, is your father at your sister's house?
Yeah, she's moved him there to stop.
Is it your sister's house or is it your father?
Well, it was our family farm, right? And my parents invited my baby sister and her husband to move into the family farm about 30-something years ago, right? But then my mum didn't like it. You know the way they say you can't have 2. The way they say you can't have 2 cooks in the same kitchen. So my mum said to my dad, I'm not happy with Phil and Anne-Marie living here. Phil's demanding dinner at a certain time. I'm doing all the cleaning and cooking. I'm being taken for granted. This is not working for me. And in my books, my dad should have said to Phil and Anne-Marie, Mum's not comfortable with sharing the farm. So, you both are in your 30s. Maybe you'd like to buy Sharon's bungalow over the road because she's gone back to England, and maybe you could live there and we'll work it out. No, instead of doing that, my dad said to my kid sister, buy the bungalow over the road and me and your mum will move out. So he moved out of the farm and signed it all over to her for the price of a pissy little bungalow over the road, which ended up not even being signed into his name by the other sister. So it's all a mess. It's an Irish fucking mess. So the farm is in Anne-Marie's name. The farm is in Anne-Marie and Phil Galligan's name, even though they couldn't even get a mortgage for 70 grand. They had to call on Galligan family members and my murdered sister Fiona's money. They couldn't even get a mortgage for 70 grand when it was valued at $250,000 back then. At the peak of the boom in Ireland, the Celtic Tiger, it was valued at 2.6 million. A 50-acre equestrian centre was valued at 2.6 million. My sister got it for 70 grand and farmed my parents out over the road into a house that they thought was bought for them, but the other sister wouldn't even give them the deeds to that. So the house he was in, my sister in England, Sharon Power, who works for Ipswich County Council, says, oh no, I didn't sell it. I just said lifetime occupancy. It's still mine. I'm not sending the deeds. And then the home place, my kid's sister is saying, oh, it's all in our name. Doesn't matter that the Galligans financed it and Fiona financed it and it was all a cover up. It's in our name. And it is. So if I go there, I could be deemed trespassing. I can be deemed trespassing. And that's where she's put my father.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. So to see your father would have to come out of the house.
Oh, he's 95 in a hospital bed.
They don't want you in there.
Yeah, so it's very clever.
Is he in hospital? Or is it?
No, the hospital discharged him. They said there's nothing. They said.
Angie, one second. Right, because there's too much going on. You've got too much going on.
Sorry.
Let me slow you down. Let me slow you down.
All right.
Right. Your dad is in the house that is now in your sister's name.
Yeah, the farm. Yeah, the farm.
So right then. So she's saying she doesn't want you in the house.
Yeah.
Stopping you seeing your dad doesn't mean that she can say she's saying she doesn't want you in the house, but you can. Is he walk? Can he walk? Is he in a wheelchair?
Right. They thought he was on his deathbed. When I visited him, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before, he was in a hospital bed, you know, an electronic one that goes up and down and so on. And I suggested it be turned so he could look out the window and see the rabbits and see the horses riding by and give him a bit of interest. They honestly thought he was going to die. And when I visited, I said, I don't think you're ready to go, Dad. So I'll come once a week and let's move your bed so you can look out the window and blah, blah, blah. And that was not in the plan. So my sister moved him over the road to her place, which makes me trespassing. Now, how she moved him, she must have put him in a wheelchair. But I don't want to escalate things, either so that he does die from the stress of the daughters fighting, or that she bungs him in a county home, which was always his worst nightmare. Whatever you do, don't put me in the county home. So I don't want to make things more stressful for him. But at the same time, I've been bullied and robbed by my sisters all my life. And I think if I don't get the balls to fight now, I never will. I never will.
I mean, obviously you don't want to speak to your father, but your father's got to be the one that gives the answers, because he's given that. If he's given that house over, that's his choice. You've got no choice on what your father
it's done and dusted.
It's his choice.
Yep. And he got his reward.
So the point here.
I've lost you.
She can't stop her. She can't stop. You're still here. Yeah.
She can stop seeing him because she's not consenting, and he's in her capture. She's got him hostage. Like, he can't get in a wheelchair and pop out for a walk round. He's 95. He needs to be visited in bed.
Is there a restraining order between you and your father?
No.
Is there a restraining order between you and the father?
No. There's no. I have no criminal record.
You from going into the.
Wow.
Listen to it.
We're getting
experience. She can stop you going to the house because it's her house, right?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Can you hear me or what?
Yeah, we're getting interference, but I'm hoping.
She can stop you only going into the house.
Yeah.
She can only stop you going into the house because it's in there.
Yes.
She can't stop you from seeing the father.
Of course she can, because he's in the house.
This is why I'm saying, can you? So therefore,
oh God, this keeps freezing. We're getting You're freezing, Andy. You're freezing up. We're getting in.
You're going to see your father. So you're going to see your father. Yeah. Yeah, I'm exposing. We're exposing a lot now. They're messing with my thing.
Yeah, my internet as well.
They're messing with my feed.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
So
So I
the
mean,
bottom line, the bottom. Go ahead.
they can't stop you from seeing your father. They can stop you seeing your father inside the house. But if your father's in that house, therefore he's living in that house, and it's his choice whether or not. You know, if your daughter's saying if his daughter or your sister is saying she don't want you in the house, then your father has the opportunity to go outside and go for a walk in a wheelchair.
He's 95, and although that might be a possibility a month from now, he's just recovering from an infection from a blocked catheter. He is 95, and I think maybe in a month I could say, all right, Dad, do you want to go for a walk? The sun is shining. Do you want to go out and see the horses? Let's go for a stroll. That would be a possibility. But it's not at the moment. At the moment, he's technically on his deathbed, and I'm barred from there. I was allowed a token visit, and then, oh dear, he didn't die. Well, fuck that. She's not coming anymore.
You froze again, mate.